Hi everyone, welcome to this Grace Note. And today I'd like to speak to those of you that are freaking out about money, or those of you that have a lot of thinking about money. This is an area that I see keeps people stuck in jobs that they really don't like for too long. And it's also an area I see that when you're in your own business or you're self-employed can just seem to take away from the joy of what you're doing. And in this video, I'd like to share some insights that I've had about money over the last 4 to 5 years in really just getting my own coaching business going. I started out really not knowing how I could serve people next. And I'd been a school teacher in London for quite a number of years. And I just knew I didn't want to do that anymore. In fact, most of the salary I was bringing in at that stage just was going out on trying to recover my health, and I was constantly exhausted, constantly tired, and the turning point came for me one day on the train on the way to work when I took a mild anxiety attack, and I simply had to get off that train. And as I got off the train, I looked around me and I just saw hundreds and hundreds of people rushing to get to their jobs. And I just thought to myself, I don't want to live like this anymore. So I kind of made a firm decision internally in that moment, if you like, that I wasn't going to live like that anymore, that I was going to find a way out of my job. But I had no idea how else I could earn. Because I trained as a teacher, I'd studied languages, I had a great interest in helping people. But I really didn't know what would be next. And roll on a couple of years, I find myself sitting on a beautiful beach in Italy, completely consumed by feelings of frustration and anger and doubt. And I was crying on that beach rather than lazing on it and enjoying it, because I wasn't earning my own money, and I was so desperate to serve, but I didn't know how. And I'd become quite financially dependent at that stage on my partner, which was not good for our relationship, as generous as he was. It just left me in a very disempowered place. At least that was the feeling at the time. And so money was something that I felt was at that stage out there, something I couldn't quite reach, and something that was causing difficulty in my relationship, and something that was keeping me held back as far as I could see it at the time. And again, I kind of knew something had to change, and I find a way for me to be able to serve that revolves around coaching. I find that was something I could genuinely offer the world, something I could do, because it was something that I was doing and loving doing anyway, very naturally. So I went on that path of, discovering coaching and sort of learning how to coach more effectively and getting into that. And I was quite successful quite quickly, and I really do believe that success came from a deep desire to serve. Couple that with a deep frustration of not having your own money. It was kind of a recipe for movement and fast traction. But I was very blessed to cross the 6-figure line in 6 months and to continue to generate a multiple 6-figure income across the years. And as time has gone on, I've seen a few things about money. I've seen a few things that I find help people when they're trying to get going with something. And one of the key things for me has been not being moved by money. And what I mean by that is, when you fall prey to insecure thoughts, you'll find you get very anxious you'll find you get very nervous, or you get a lot of thinking about whatever looks like the problem to you. And for many of the clients I work with, the problem for them looks like money. It looks like where I was, I don't have my own money. I am dependent on my partner. I don't know how else I can earn. I haven't earned for a number of years. I don't know what to do. So in looking at that problem, what we can expect is to feel more and more anxious and more concerned about the situation. Now, I saw something that really helped me stop being so moved by situations. And what I saw was that I was only ever at the mercy of my insecure thoughts. That when I wasn't thinking insecurely, I didn't have any feeling of lack or anxiousness or I need to or I must or it's got to happen now, I got to make it happen. I didn't have any of that urgency going on. And as a result of that, my state of mind was clear and I was simply doing what came to me to do, and what came to me to do led to income. Now, there are times where it can really look like money is the problem. But what's been curious to me on this journey is how we all experience life so differently and how we all experience money completely differently. And it seems to me that those of us that have a lot of thinking about money and see money as the issue tend to keep recreating that situation over and over. As I began to see that all that was ever at work was my insecure thought, and that as a result of that insecure thought, my experience of money was insecure, something woke up in me. It was like a light going on in a dark room. And I settled down enough not to be so moved anymore. And I really got that. I really got that experience when I was faced with a situation where I was on the other side of the world and there was no signs of land, there was no money coming in, and I had a £7,000 credit card bill that had to be paid in full within 48 hours. And I had, up until that point, just, being expecting of it and just being quite easy. Business was always in flow anyway. So this was a bit of a shocker to me that I was in this situation. But what was incredible about that situation was that I wasn't freaking out. And because I wasn't freaking out, my state of mind was clear. And because that was clear, ideas were able to pop in. And I had the well-being to act on those ideas. Now, this is incredibly hopeful because what I'm saying here is, your solution is in you. And as long as you keep looking at the problem and as money being the problem, it doesn't leave a lot of bandwidth mentally for, capturing your solution, capturing your idea, capturing your path to more income or the income you need in that moment. And, when we're insecure, it's very innocent, but when we're insecure, these feelings of insecurity rise up in us. And anxious feelings, fearful feelings, feelings of lack. Now, the mistake humanity is making is that they are relating those feelings as meaning something. Because they innocently don't know that the feeling is being generated because of the thinking they're having. The world still doesn't really know that. And I was blessed to come across an understanding that really shared this with me and opened this up for me. That we're all operating through the principle of thought. And this principle of thought generates a feeling in the body. Now, I have innocently many times over made the mistake too of falling for my feelings and thinking that the anxiousness must mean something bad is going to happen, or it's going to get worse, or it's never going to work out. But what I began to see was, oh, this anxiousness has nothing to do with my business. Oh, this anxious feeling has nothing to do with whether or not you can succeed. This anxious feeling, this fearful feeling, has no relevance and no connection to your ability to create income. At the time, I really innocently thought it did mean something. And I think there's a lot of hope in knowing that the feeling you're having is coming from thought and has no relationship to your bank balance or your husband or anything else that you see right now as the problem. And so as I began to see that, you know, all that was ever happening was me living in my experience according to my thoughts in that moment, it no longer, it just didn't have grip on me anymore like it used to. It was just so hopeful and so helpful to know that. And to find out more about that, I really highly recommend you look at the work of Sydney Banks, the originator of the 3 principles. You know, those principles were so helpful in my journey. What's also helped in terms of the subject of money has been personal to me. So I'm happy to share a few personal pieces here. They might not be universal, but they were very meaningful to me. And so what I have seen is that money loves a purpose. There's absolutely no shortage. It loves a purpose. And what I saw was the more reason I had for the income, the more it showed up. You know, it was almost like the quicker I could, you know, the quicker I could receive it and the quicker I could use it, the more it came in. And so initially I had a lot of really big desires, the desire to like get off that beach and not be crying anymore, frustrated with my situation, dependent on my partner financially. I had a really big desire to serve. I had a really big desire to have my relationship be easier and connected, not broken away. I had a really big desire to experience 5-star life. You know, I didn't come from that. And so those, I think those desires, those were helpful fuel, if you like. And over the course of the last 4 or 5 years, I've continued to see that when there's a purpose for it, it shows up, or it comes suddenly, we're acting towards it more, suddenly we're engaged more. And for those of you in business, or those of you that are coaching, or those of you that are getting started, you know, the desire to serve, you know, is really where it's at. You know, as much as it was nice to have desires to experience life, I would say my overriding pace was the absolute desire to be of service. I was done crying on that beach almost every day, desperate to serve, but not knowing how. It was like a hunger came up on me. And so when we start to look at that, our desire to serve, when we go for that, instead of looking at the money, the lack of money, where's the money going to come from, what I call the visible supply, when we come from that place of deep desire to serve, the money takes care of itself. So if you're in business and you're listening to this and you're kind of like, just take a check in on yourself. Where are you on a scale of 1 to 10 in terms of wanting to serve, desiring to serve? And if it's not a 7 or an 8 plus, it's give yourself permission to wait until it is. At some point it will be. And when it is, that's when you'll see traction. That's when you'll see a lot of movement. And I'm not saying that, that's the only way money comes or that's the only way it shows up. I'm speaking personally here from that experience. And what I've seen from my own clients, though, as being really helpful is that as they have started to understand that their experience around money is coming from their own thinking about money, and that they don't have to keep falling or giving attention to that insecure thinking over and over again, and that they especially don't have to be concerned about the feelings that rise up in them when they're having stressful thought about money. Something settles down in them, like it did for me. And with that, our state of mind opens up and the ideas are coming to us and we're acting on them very gracefully, very naturally, as a result of which income, money, abundance, opportunity shows up. So I don't know what you're hearing in this one, but I hope it's been helpful. And please leave me your comment below and let me know what your aha is, what you're taking away, or maybe what you want to hear a little bit more of. Is this subject something you want me to talk more about? Let me know. In the meantime, I think it's very helpful to stop looking at an illusionary problem. There is an invisible supply. There is the formless, where there is more than enough available for us. And our job is to tap into the formless and bring it into form. And there's no right or wrong around that. There's no, you have to bring it into form and it has to be millions. There's just whatever your free will at this time is asking for or thinks she can have or he can have. There's whatever your free will at this time feels comfortable believing in. Ultimately, there is no limit, but we have our little free will that we sometimes decide to use to limit ourselves. So that's okay. As your insecure thinking about money, as your insecure thinking about yourself settles down, you'll probably start to call in more. But in the meantime, be gentle, be compassionate. Stop looking at the visible supply. That's not where it's at. Everything you have in your life right now was once in the formless. It was once in the invisible. Be it a husband, a partner, a house, babies, businesses, cars. It was once just an idea, and you've brought it forward into form. You can do the same with money. And as we start focusing on the formless, as we start looking to the invisible supply, as we start moving our attention to service, not self, service rather than, serving our needs in terms of, paying bills, something magical occurs. So that's my take on the money piece for today. And I look forward to hearing from you if this has resonated. I'll be back with you soon with another Grace Note. And if you happen to be someone who loves Facebook, I talk a lot, almost 3-4 times a week in our Facebook group. So you're welcome to click on the link below and come and join us there, where you receive a lot of this kind of sharing to support you in really just enjoying life more and being more at peace and having more ease, and certainly doing what you love and being on purpose with that. So I hope that's helpful, and I look forward to seeing you over there if you'd like to join us. Ciao.